every knowledge that people have, it carries a fragrance. And Paul is saying, God has caused us to triumph. And this is the thing about our worship. Because once you begin to offer right worship, it causes you to triumph. It causes you to prevail. So here was a woman that should have been in oblivion, should have been a cook like the other women. But because of the fragrance that she had, she got to prevail over the space of Simeon's house. She got to prevail over anything else that was happening in that space. Her fragrance filled the room. And this is where you find now we are beginning to be brought back to the doctrine of works, to the doctrine of acts that have nothing to do with the fragrance. Because once you break that oil, once your worship begins not just to be right but to be precise, once it begins to be prophetic, once it begins to be what it is that shall happen, when you are at a place where we begin to prepare, because this is a mystery about it, that when you worship rightly, you begin preparing for the coming of Christ. You prepare for what is next. Jesus could not have died until this fragrance was released, because this was a fragrance of the knowledge of Christ, and it began to be disseminated. It began to dominate that space. And he says, for we are to God the fragrance of Christ among those who are being saved and among those who are perishing. Now, those that are being saved, when they see us, we are a fragrance of what? Verse 16. To the one, we are the aroma of death leading to death, and to the other, the aroma of life leading to life. What we are doing, we are not just doing it to the people, but we are doing it to God. It is rising to God as a fragrance. But if there is anyone that is dying in that space, that fragrance will expose them. That's why you found yourself sometimes when you begin talking about Jesus and people, it's like somebody wants to beat you up. It's like somebody does not want you to be there. Why? Because there's a fragrance you're releasing. It's not just the knowledge. It's not just that you're born again, but there's a fragrance that you carry. And every time you begin to do it rightly to God, it will manifest those that are dying and those that are living. That fragrance will not just leave things as they are. It will manifest the hearts of people. It will manifest the callousness of people's hearts and the sincerity of others. It will manifest. So in that space, there is a Lazarus, but there's also a Judas. Because Lazarus is alive, and that fragrance is a fragrance of life unto life. When you read verse 9, it says, and when they saw that the people were believing Jesus because of Lazarus. So Lazarus was at meat with Jesus. Lazarus was at meat with the leper. But the fragrance that Mary released amplified Lazarus, but it also amplified Judas. It amplified Lazarus as one that is living and proceeding on to life. But it also manifested Judas, one that was dying even unto greater death. Because the sinister plan of Judas was hatched by that fragrance. That's why if you want to expose the people that are around you, you've got to know how to raise the right fragrance. God will show you who is around you. There is no way they can react differently. Why? Because that fragrance prevails. That fragrance dominates. You worship rightly, there is somebody that has been doing it wrong that will get offended. You worship rightly, there is someone that has been doing it right that will be greater magnified in that space. Every time a fragrance is released at the table of the king, there is something different that happens. Judas can dip his hand in the same bowl with Jesus, but Judas cannot stand the same scent as Jesus. They can share the same meal, they can't stand the same fragrance.